Welcome to another episode of Roll or Die. Today we have a real treat for you. I'm really looking forward to chatting to this guy, getting to know him a little bit more. He's got quite a few stories to tell, I think. He's been around for a really long time. He's recently graded to black belt, and he's got a bit of a story to tell around how that happened. He trains at both Level 5 BJJ and Gamebred Academy, coming to you out of Brisbane. He is Mike Day. Thanks for joining us, Mike.
Thanks for having me on.
Awesome,
it's
man.
pretty exciting. First time I've done one of these, so this is pretty cool.
Great, man. Enjoy.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Just to kick this off, I'm in a car in Russia, and I am opposite a Russian jail. So I don't know what kind of action we might see, but I might have to interrupt our show from time to time if I see any crazy action coming out. I've never been, anywhere near a Russian jail until today. So yeah, that's where I'm coming out of.
That's all good. If you got to run, you run. It's all good.
That's right. That's right. Cool, man.
All good. All good. Now, I actually, sorry to interrupt, Anton, I actually sort of know of Mike because I had the pleasure of sharing a room with his lovely wife at the Australian Girls in Gi camp in Sydney in 2020. So that's how I sort of first heard of Mike, got to know him via his lovely wife, Maya. So yeah, that's my sort of connection.
So, that's amazing. That's awesome. What belt is she?
She's a blue belt. Yeah, she's had a bit of time off the mats. We've had a baby, so she's a very busy lady right now with the little guy. He's a lot of work and a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And there's something.
How old is he now? How old's your son? Sorry.
He's 19 months.
Yeah.
Oh, early days.
Yeah.
Busy age.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
A full deck of grown adults, and so do I. So yeah, we're on the part of our journey.
We remember those days.
Oh,
They're very hectic. Very hectic.
I've also got a 19-year-old, so I've sort of gone full spectrum and done it again.
That's a
yeah. Yeah.
That's
awesome. I decided it was time. I'd waited long enough.
Yeah. You'd recovered from the first one, and you're.
So you actually, with regard to your wife, you had a so Mike, with regard to your wife, you actually had a surprise wedding. Is that right? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, we did. It was my 50th a week ago. So we decided, I've never had any of my milestones celebrated. So Maya said, look, I'm going to throw you a big party. And I'm like, yep, cool, let's do it. And then probably about 6 months out, she said, why don't we just turn it into a surprise wedding? We've been trying to figure out how to do it. Let's just make it a surprise wedding for everyone. So we're like, yeah, awesome. So we got all that. Only about a dozen people knew. And then coincidentally, it was the same day as our mid-year grading for level 5. So on top of all of it, I got my black belt as well. So I hit 50, got married, got a black belt in 24 hours. So dropped the mic. I can't beat that. I've pretty much hit the peak right now, and it's a lovely downhill ride from here, I guess.
Exactly. Like life just can't compare to all of those things at once as well. It's like that first, I don't know, I want to say drug experience because I can't think of anything else like it. But when you have a great experience and then nothing else is ever going to match that. Like, how do you top a day like that? You can't really. Yeah, it's got it all.
Yeah, exactly. The meme of the guy standing in the pool all lonely, looking around. Like, what do you do next? Like, there's this. I can't top that.
Create a bigger game. I'm not sure.
Awesome. I've not been to a surprise wedding, but so how was it received? Did you manage to keep it a surprise, or had people
we
kind of
did.
climbed on?
Well, there was a few people that were a bit sus because I was in grown-up clothes. That never happens. And Maya had makeup on. That never happens. So that was sort of two of the giveaways, but most people were still unaware. And then she did a surprise for me. She did a video. She said, I'm not letting you know anything about it. Just going to do a video to announce the wedding for everyone. I'm like, yeah, cool. And she ended up doing a cameo from Master Ken.
I wish you'd given us that.
Wow.
I was like, right.
Played that. We could have played that today. We might have.
I'll try to see if I can send through the link to you. So
yeah,
even
do.
he knew I was Yeah, yeah, okay. I'll see what I can do there because even he knew I was getting my black belt because he congratulated me on that, congratulated me on turning 50, and then announced the surprise wedding. So what a way to do it!
Awesome, man. And what's it
Fantastic.
like being a 50-year-old newly anointed black belt? Like I find that for me, I'm not black yet, but I know that the higher up I get, like the more people want to tap you. Kim's a black belt, you're a black belt. The more people want to tap you, but we're older. You know what I mean? Like we go full out with people.
Yeah.
And it's, like we hurt ourselves. So what's it like being a newly anointed black belt at 50?
Sore, basically. Yeah, it is harder. It is harder being the old guy, and especially now I'm coaching at Gamebred. That's an MMA gym. So I've got a lot of 22, 25, 26-year-olds, athletic specimens. Just they come after you, and it's a hard night at the office most nights.
Absolutely.
I don't put a lot of pressure on myself anymore.
Yep.
I don't do that. I know that I can't compete with the 96-kilo lean world-class wrestler who's trying to tear my head off. If I can keep him off me for the round, that's ticking the box.
That's a
job
win.
done.
Yeah. It is important to not bring ego to those roles, isn't it?
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
Like I just hit the half century, I'll break.
Yeah. I literally popped
100%.
my knee just the other night. I'm in Russia training jiu-jitsu 3 days a week, 2-hour format classes.
Yeah.
And everything's going great until one night the coach, because they match me up here. So the coach matches me up with a guy. He's bigger than me. We roll, and he does this thing where he picks up my leg, pulls it to the side, and my knee just instantly pops. My other knee, not the leg he's holding. It's a single leg with a kind of a twist to the side. I go down like writhing on the ground. They tape me up, and I'm like, I'm not training for the rest of my Russia trip. Obviously, I can barely walk now. And then I'm like, how long have you been training for? And he's like, oh, this is my second ever class. And I'm like, what am I doing? I'm rolling with a giant second ever class Russian crazy white belt. And that was the end of my training for this trip. And I got to live the whole time. Yeah. So, and those
sucks.
Yeah, sucks.
And Mike, tell us a bit about your journey to get to the black belt, because it's been if I could say, like it's been a journey for you. Like you've had a ride there. So tell us, like, when did you start, and tell us about some of the things along the way.
Well, I think my first ever class in jiu-jitsu would have been in about 2008. I just started training MMA, and I come from a striking background, doing a lot of Muay Thai. And I figured I got to learn this grappling stuff. So I started doing MMA. I wasn't, to be honest, super serious about jiu-jitsu at the time because I found it hard. My striker brain was like, I don't get this. So I sort of dabbled, went in and out for quite a few years, and had the appropriate stripes to show for that. I think in about a 5-year period, I had 2 stripes, because in the meantime too, I got an apprenticeship as a tattoo artist and had all of the extra work of that, and then opening my own studio. So I was very on and off, up and down, hit and miss, so to speak, with training for a long time. Had the passion for it, but not the time. It was really, really tough. And then I got to the point where I was able to train a lot more. And a coach I trained with at the previous MMA gym opened his own gym at Morningside, level 5. And I literally lived across the road. And I was like, this is like a sign from above. Now I can finally train again consistently. And I was on the mats from day one, and I just have not left now. So it's been awesome. It's just become my family.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I think there's a few tattoo artists in jiu-jitsu, but I don't think we've had a guest on that's a tattoo artist. Have we, Anton?
No, but I'm fascinated by that because, like, obviously almost every MMA person has an arsenal of tats on them. It seems like a prerequisite. So do you get to build those relationships and put ink on MMA fighters? Is that a thing that do you cross promote?
Yeah, definitely. I've I think I found over the years, just by being in the industry, being around MMA and Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu and everything else, people are, you're a tattoo artist, and they'll come to me, and then it's word of mouth. Like I'm the most terrible businessman you'll ever meet so far as marketing and all of the important things. I'm so bad at that stuff. So it's always been a word of mouth, organic type of growth for me.
Right.
But it's always just been through good people, the same as you meet in jiu-jitsu. So And it's funny, I find I'm tattooing most of them at Christmas when the gyms are shut down for a week or two.
They have to get their
I
dopamine.
think in my
They don't
jiu-jitsu
have to
period.
take time off training. They can
Yeah.
still train. Yes.
I need to be in a different sort of
Yeah.
pain.
So when
What
I
can
should
do?
be
I know, I'll
resting,
go get some
I'm
ink on
doing
me.
more tattooing because everyone wants to get their tattoos done then and be back on mat first week.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I know that some people think of jiu-jitsu as like because it is a martial art, like that real artist type of, expression of it. Do you see any kind of crossover for you between being like a tattoo artist and your jiu-jitsu? Do you feel like you can express your creativity and stuff through jiu-jitsu as an art,
Definitely.
or how do you
Definitely.
see that?
Yeah, in a lot of weird and obscure ways as well too. Like I'm the resident gym gi whore or fashionista. I love all of the fashion side of jiu-jitsu too. And thankfully I'm at a gym where my coach doesn't care what you wear on the mats. He just wants you to train hard and do your best. So I've got tie-dyed gis. I've got every color under the sun. I've painted gis. So I've got to express my art literally onto my jiu-jitsu, onto my gis, and designed for clothing labels and gyms and stuff like that. But yeah, that same sort of creative spark that you get in art, I think absolutely crosses over into jiu-jitsu. Definitely.
Yeah,
That's
fantastic.
interesting. And is there tattoos that you will not put on people anymore? Like you're sure that they're a bad idea, or they're just done to death, and you don't compromise your artistic integrity? Or if I come to you and say, I don't know, something, my girlfriend's name on my neck or something, but I don't know, it's
names are a no-go. I swear. Yeah, names is a big no-go. I will sit down and have a very heart-to-heart serious chat with you about that. Some things, look, if it's important to the person, it's important to them. It's not for me to judge.
Yeah.
But man, if I never do another Southern Cross tattoo, I'm a happy man. So many of them back in the day. I think my record was 9 in 1 week. Like,
wow.
Yeah.
Robert Whittaker.
Outside of that, it's, as long as there's no
yeah.
Yeah. Look, as long as there's no profanity or anything, I just love people's ideas, and I get some crazy ideas sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's a fun job.
It's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Anton touched on the jiu-jitsu couple side of things. So tell us about that. Like, as said, obviously your wife is now like a little bit preoccupied with your bubba, so not quite training as much. But before that, like, how were things for you as a couple? Do you train at the same academy? Do you train together? How does that go for you? You're a senior belt to her. Like, do you wear different hats at different times, or how does it go?
For us, it was a really good thing. I've heard of other people that can't train together or can't even be in the same academy together. For us, it was never an issue. I'd train with her if none of the other girls were on that night, and we never had any sort of bickering, except this one time I tricep sliced her after a Carlos Machado seminar, and she wasn't happy about that. That's probably the only hiccup we ever had.
Okay, so
She
no
was not happy,
moves on
it's
your
not an
partner.
issue.
Anyway.
Okay.
No,
Don't do it. It's not worth it, man. It's not worth it.
Yeah, fair enough.
So you don't take like your frustrations out like after you come home and stuff, like she's all pissed off and you can't talk with her about it or anything. Like, you guys have got a good understanding.
We've had a great relationship on that front from day one, because like I've had a long martial arts background. I've been doing this in one form or another since I was 12.
Wow.
And she was a competitive boxer. So she trained and competed at quite a high level, won a few titles. So we've sort of both at that point in our training life where we had that maturity in training that we just didn't get petty about things.
Yeah.
Except that slicer. You're going to kill me for that one.
Yeah. I'm yet to find a relationship that doesn't get petty about something, though. You know, I remember, I think with Kim and Theo, last time I spoke to Theo, I heard Kim and Theo talking about coffee grounds on the kitchen counter. Actually, I've got the same thing going on with my partner as well. She doesn't like coffee grounds.
Oh, yeah. My kitchen bench doesn't exist anymore, like, because of all the damn appliances that he wants to put out on the counter. There's no space for anything else. But anyway, that's separate. That's separate. So, yeah, do you have any advice, Mike, for couples in jiu-jitsu who might not have, quite the smooth ride that you guys have in terms of how to navigate those issues?
I get it's a tricky one again, depending on where you are in your training. But I'd say like keep it off the mats. The mats is your time to train and work hard. If you find that when you're pairing up, and you might think it's a sweet thing to do at the beginning, but then you're realizing, hey, it's not working. That's cool. Find different partners and train with them instead. Because if you're not able to get that good connection with your partner on the mats, it's probably going to cause some issues often as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I think there'd be so many different permutations of couple problems in gyms, just so many that I think it's just always going to be a challenge. But I do think that if you can get through it, it's such a privilege to be able to train with your partner and have something you share, so that is a nice thing. I'm always envious of jiu-jitsu couples.
Yeah. Oh, it was an amazing thing. I remember the night she got a blue belt. She was level 5's first female blue belt. And I think I was prouder and happier for her than when I got my own. Like it was just such a great moment. Absolutely.
Definitely. Same with kids.
Yeah.
Like when your kids get a belt or, some sort of major achievement, it's definitely or even students as a teacher, jiu-jitsu, students, I haven't graded anyone yet, but I know that just seeing students develop is such a blessing as well. Don't you think? You're coaching now. You're coaching in 2 places, right?
Yeah.
So, tell us a bit about the coaching side of things. Yeah.
I've been at level 5, as I said, since day one, and I've been coaching there since purple belt. So I would take the Wednesday morning originally. It's now the Monday morning, and just fill in if someone was crook or whatnot. But then I was offered a solid full-time position type of thing at Gamebred late last year. So I've been teaching Monday to Thursday nights at Gamebred now as well. And this past weekend, the weekend after getting my black belt, we had the mid-year grading at Gamebred, and there was a black belt awarded there. And I got to put stripes on belts for the first time, and that was just a major buzz.
Yeah.
Like it was such a rewarding thing, something I'd only ever been on the other side of for so many years, but just to call a name out and see them light up and just be able to say a few words of encouragement to them, that was really cool. That's one of the many rewarding things about coaching. I love coaching. Love it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. How are you finding the transition into black belt? Like, I don't know how your clubs sort of do their formation. Do you line up and stuff like that? Because I know for me, at the very start of black belt, I kept going to the wrong line, like back into the general line, and it felt for me just so wrong to be at the front of the class, like especially standing next to your coach or your professor. Like it just felt really wrong that I could be at the same rank as them. How's that going for you?
Yeah, I've definitely got that same weirdness about it at the moment. After so many years at level 5, we'd line up from white belts at the back, blue, purple, brown, and then the coaches facing. And now it's only been a week and a bit, but being up the front and turned around looking at them, it's a new world, and it's something that's definitely taken a bit of time to get used to already. 3 of us got our black belts the other weekend, and one of them comes in for my Monday morning class as well, and he just sort of went to his normal position up the front of the class. I'm like, no, you're next to me now, brother. We both got this belt. It's new, it's weird, but I guess I'll grow into it like every other belt. You'll grow into it with time.
Yeah, 100%.
I think, I'm not sure. I wrestle with this. Is it that by the time you get there, I think by the time you get there, how normal a black belt is. Whereas to me, when I was a white belt, I felt like black belts were gods and I could never get anywhere near them. But by the time you've done so many classes and so many things, it must be a strange feeling to switch that around. But at the same time, you've been acclimatized to it for so long that you just feel like you feel like a normal person, even though you're at a much higher level. That's how I think it is. So you think maybe I'm not worthy because it's just another day at the office for you. But when you put yourself, when you see someone who's never done anything before, the contrast is so massive, and it's definitely earned and deserved, and the class knows the work that's gone into it. But I just always find it fascinating how mortal it feels even when you're going up through the belts. And maybe it's because we're older as well. So physically we might be on a decline, so we feel even more mortal. But these are just the things that go round and round in my head.
most definitely. Yeah, yeah. It's an interesting thing. I've I've never put pressure on myself. I think that's one of the things. You know, and the grading process is just so long that it's funny now being at that other end of it, from being the white belt back in the day, just looking at these purple and brown and black belts who would just murder me on the daily and going, I'm never going to be that good. And then purple belt came and went. Brown belt has just come and gone.
Yeah.
And now I'm that black belt. And just last night, I was rolling with one of my guys at Game Bread, and he's only got a few months under the belt. And I was just playing with him, having fun. No, I don't feel it's my job to smash and murder them on their first couple of weeks of training. I want to guide them and just play fundamental jiu-jitsu and that sort of thing. And I was just moving him from guard to mount to side to guard, back and forth. And he was huffing and puffing by the end of the round, and I'm just talking like we're talking now. And he's like, why are you not puffed? And it was a bit of a moment of, oh, yeah, I have come a long way, haven't I?
Yes, that is where you notice it. So true. Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's a really interesting journey, that's for sure.
Can you talk about your Instagram handle, Supreme Leader Choke? Where did that come from? Because that kind of goes against what you're sort of saying. Well, how did that come about?
You know what? I love puns, and I'm a massive Star Wars nerd. So when that 8th movie came out, or 7th, or whichever one it was, and Supreme Leader Snoke, I just thought it was hilarious to call myself Supreme Leader Choke. We're all doing like pun handles at that time, and that's the one that I ended up sticking with. So
you'll actually have to.
I don't know, maybe it needs an update. I don't know.
No, invent the move. Just put a different spin on a guillotine or something, and call it the Supreme Leader Choke. What is your power move? What's your signature?
Yeah, I'll have to make a signature.
Yeah, if I was going to roll against you, Mike, how would I beat you? What's your biggest vulnerability, and what's your greatest threat?
Great questions. I love leg locks. I was an early adapter on leg locks going into my blue belt. I've trained. I've gone down to Melbourne a few times actually in the past to train with Jeremy Skinner when he used to be at Absolute. I do a few privates with him. Yeah. Great bloke. And I went to Japan a few times and trained with Imanari at his gym in Itabashi.
Oh wow!
That was an eye opener. Like, those dudes, they train so hard, but you always get the stigma of leg locks are dangerous. They're no more dangerous than any other submission if you train them correctly.
Yeah.
And you'd get these world-class people just dropping in on the daily, and they were monsters, and you'd never go out of there injured. They trained really intelligently for the level they were training at. We'd get judo Olympians like Satoshi Ishii just drop in one morning, and then Hideo Tokaro's in the next day, and then there's Misha Tate. It was just crazy stuff.
Wow.
But yeah, never the injuries that crazy drop-ins. Everyone knows Imanari, so you just get everyone coming to his gym all the time. It's really cool.
So don't play the leg entanglement game with Mike. You're not going to come out of it with the win. That's all right.
Yeah. What's your
we're all a work in progress.
What's your biggest vulnerability on the mats?
Vulnerability. That's a good one. I think probably age. Some things just do not fire as quick as they used to. And
got your age.
I like to work on guard retention, and sometimes
guard retention.
Like sometimes the guard retention doesn't work as well as it used to. They're getting past a bit quicker, or I can't get the movement, out of I hate being under side control. Hate it.
Yeah.
I mean, don't we all? But I hate it. I've never had it's something I've been working on a lot more recently is more intelligent ways to escape it. Especially when there's a bigger person on me, here we go. Buckle up, grind on. We've got to get through this because it's going to be a rough one. Definitely catch me inside. You're going to have me there for a bit. Yeah.
That's good to know.
And do you have any tips and tricks for people who are especially like you've come into your black belt at a later age, but who maybe have come into jiu-jitsu in general at a later age, who are starting jiu-jitsu as white belts, in their 40s or even 50s? Like what sort of advice would you give to people to that is just starting out?
It's a tricky one because we always talk about white and blue belt being the fight. You know, a lot of the white and blue belts always want to win the round. That's sort of a bit more of their focus. Whereas I think from purple belt onwards, you're really ready to learn.
Yeah.
So my advice with whites is to, not every round is ADCC trials. It's okay. Like pump the brakes a little bit, tap early. I always say you can fight the choke, tap to the lock, because the choke, you know, you can fight a little bit longer. The lock, you start going too long on that and you're doing damage to your shoulder, your elbow, your knee, your ankle, whatever.
Yeah.
So tap early on the locks, fight the chokes a little more. Be a good training partner. You know, don't go too hard all the time, especially being older. We don't recover as quickly or as efficiently as younger people do. So if you want to stay on the mats, you've got to be smarter about it.
Yeah, for sure.
I love that, man. That could even be a title for the show. Fight the choke, tap to the lock. I like it. It's golden advice. We did have a guy on the podcast once though, and he actually suffered a stroke, sadly, and he's very committed. Like his life's mission is to get the awareness out there that being choked may actually like release blood clots that are around the neck area up into the brain, and he believes that more strokes happen to jiu-jitsu people and MMA people because of the relentless choking than other people, and he's just gathering all that data, and he's quite passionate. But I'm not sure. It's just his view. I don't think it's evidence based yet. But yeah, I found that fascinating as well. What do you think?
Yeah, that'd be something interesting to look into for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I agree with what Mike's saying though too, because you can kind of maybe hang on a little bit longer with a choke. Like you can fight it before you go unconscious or whatever. But with the joint locks, it's a very small margin, especially for some of the joints. Like they don't have not much wiggle room.
I agree.
Before you tap or snap, sort of thing. So that's
absolutely. Especially with leg locking, like the ligaments in our knee were just so poorly designed. Like who thought up that idea? These tiny little ligaments around there,
and it's holding your whole leg together. Yeah, it's holding your weight.
Yeah. I literally went through that a couple of weeks ago, and I'm living it day by day, night by night right now. So I'm right there with you. Actually, funny note on that one. I just want to circle back to that. The guy, after I said, he was very apologetic. He's like, I just saw this move on YouTube that Makachev did in his last UFC fight. And I'm like, oh my God, I just got my knee destroyed temporarily by something that was done by an MMA fighter, by a guy who was in his second class that he saw on YouTube. And I'm like, it can't get any more textbook cliche than that. So I hope that more people will take your advice.
Insult to injury.
Do you get that, Mike? Do you have that much in your coaching that people are trying to do stuff off YouTube, and how do you deal with that? Like, do you just shut it down, or do you let them?
I like to say that, like, especially at the early levels of your training, don't be looking at Instagram and YouTube as much. You're not going to get the same understanding of it as you will in a class, and you don't have the experience yet on the mats to peter out the bullshit meter on it, because there's a lot of stuff that goes on. As you did know yourselves from seeing, you just look at it straight away. That's not going to work. Come on. You're just doing acrobatics around a person. Like, seriously, there's certain things that absolutely work and other things that are just fun drilling. So
another thing about that,
listen to your coach.
Another thing as well is, like, it's like a dance, right? Like, I expect if Kim goes to put an arm bar on me, I can roll this way or I can roll that way, and she knows the two ways that I can roll. Then she can counter that. Like, it's a dance where we expect each other's moves, and that causes less injuries. Whereas the white belts who are trying new things and trying crazy things that they've seen, it's unexpected movements in the dance that cause the injuries, I think, for everybody. Like, they get injured or we get injured, or so I'm 100% with you, man. Less content for the newbies. Less.
You sort of expect a certain reaction as well, and sometimes they don't give you that reaction, and then that's what throws you off as well. So sometimes white belts can be more difficult to roll with than blue or purple belts, because they're not reacting the right way. So it's not kind of working for you. That's how it feels for me.
It's one of the most interesting things I find. I love rolling with absolute beginners because it keeps it real. You don't know what to expect. They're going to do some weird stuff. And And I love that about it. It keeps your jiu-jitsu real too, because sometimes we just go down the rabbit hole on our systems and everyone has learned and drilled responses, but newbies, man, they don't know what they're doing and they come up with some crazy concepts sometimes. So that's what's cool to figure out as well.
I agree, but I think that the most dangerous newbies are people who are good at other martial arts who are newbies in jiu-jitsu. They're the most threatening people because they've got moves, but they're not our moves. And it's something, you get stuff that you like a blast double leg, with a pile driver on the end or something. It's crazy.
Yeah, I've got to be in a very specific mindset to be able to take those ones on because, sometimes you've got to be up for it's almost like a street fight sometimes.
Yeah, totally. It's like the old Looney Tunes cartoons with the big, big dust cloud and limbs flying everywhere.
Yeah,
and I've seen guys literally go the length of the mat in that sort of format. And they're young, 19-year-old ex-rugby player type of dudes. Someone's popping a leg here.
If there's two beginners together, then it's even more crazy.
Oh,
yes. Like a car accident.
Try to keep them separate when that happens now because that's an accident waiting to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
To be honest with you, I have to remind myself these
days
that
sorry, go Anton.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I just have to remind myself that it's a martial art and it's a fight because I just have so much fun at jiu-jitsu these days and enjoy the technique aspect of it. Like I have to remind myself that to some people it's do or die, even in a training match. And actually, one of my coaches always says to me, practice self-defense at training first. Above all else, practice self-defense. And I learned the hard way because I wasn't. You've got to defend yourself at all times.
That's it. It's true. It's so true.
And Mike, you've been in the game, 16 years now? So you said you started about 2008. So what sort of changes have you seen on the Australian scene in that time? I imagine it's changed quite a bit.
Yeah. Firstly, a lot more black belts. Hell, I'm one of them now. Like back when I started, there were gyms opening up with purple and brown belts as coaches. To see, like level 5 is a small gym. We train in a little scout hall at Morningside and have since day one, and I love it. I love it there. And yet, in our little gym that's 5x7 mat space, for my grading the other weekend, we had 16 black belts on there by the end of the day.
Wow.
A lot of friends came in to share the day, and that was just amazing. Wow. I thought we were spoiled when level 5 opened and we had 2 black belts for such a small gym. I thought, wow, just seeing that second and even third generation of black belts. Oh, excuse me. Black belts coming through now is one of the biggest changes because black belts were the boogeyman. You didn't see too many of them. If you had one in your gym, it was you were lucky. And now every gym's got multiple, and that's one of the biggest changes, definitely. And also, again, we've spoken negatively about it, but with the proliferation of YouTube, Instagram, and more knowledge and technique being put out there, people are progressing quicker than they did back in the day. Because if there's something they didn't quite get in class, they can go home and check it and go, I didn't put my hip there or my elbow here or whatever. So I'm seeing progression come a lot quicker too.
Yeah,
I think you're right. Yeah. It's about the bullshit filters and the danger aspect of the content, but the content itself is amazing. It's such a privilege to be training in this with all of that at our fingertips. It's just so special.
Oh, 100%. You can look it up, even if you do a class and then you can go home after class and put that technique into the internet and it'll give you 1,000 videos on it or whatever. So that wasn't available for me. I know when I started a little bit after you, but we had books, like paper books. I would have to go to my book and look it up. I've got, Jiu-Jitsu University.
Wow.
Let's get, page whatever. And that would show me that if it wasn't in the book, I don't know. You had to ask someone.
So now you have to
and even those little black and
like a cartoon.
You go, mate. Yeah. And those little black and white, instructional photos, sometimes they'd be missing a thing or two, so you'd never get the full technique out of them anyway.
And you know what fascinates me the most nowadays, like the progression. Like I will literally see an armbar, and then I'll see it done away. In 15 years, I've never seen it before. Like regularly, I will regularly see things I've never ever seen before. I'm no longer surprised, but I'm often surprised. That's how I feel about it. Like I just am always seeing something new. I'm like, how did they
Yeah,
just that slight detail difference makes so much difference in certain situations. And I just love that about what we're doing.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
I think that's the other big thing with the progression of people is also the progression of the art.
Mm.
Like some of the guards that are being used now and used at really high levels, you didn't see that back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, that's just, I think it's one of the things I love most about jiu-jitsu is you'll never know it all.
Mm.
You know, I plan on doing this as old and as decrepit as possible. I love this. I love this stuff. But I don't think I could ever learn the entire art. There's just so much to it now. And it's constantly evolving.
Kit Dale did a calculation. I don't know how he did it, but he did it on a video once. And it was like he tried to calculate all the permutations of transitions. And he said, in a lifetime, you could probably only master about 5% of, like truly master about 5% of jiu-jitsu. And I think that's fairly, you know.
Yeah, it's so true. Like a couple of months ago, me and one of the other four-stripe brown belts that was at Gamebred, who just got his black belt on the weekend, Andrew Snook, he's a legend of a guy. We went to a seminar with Wilson Matos, a red belt, who was visiting Australia at the time. And he did a workshop at Art Suave, and we went along to it. And here we are, both of us, you know, are grading away from our black belts. And the 7 techniques he taught that day, we'd never seen.
Wow.
And it's like, it just reiterates the depth of this art. It's like, I've never seen that. I know that move, but I've never seen it from there.
Yeah.
That's just awesome.
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. And are you a gi or no gi fan or equal?
Also,
Like
guys,
50-50?
say we've got
I love them both.
1 minute 16 to go.
Oh, okay, I didn't see that.
Okay. I love both. I train a lot of no-gi and teach a lot of no-gi at Gamebred, being an MMA gym. We just have the one gi class a week. But I started out almost strictly gi, so I've sort of done a lot of both over the years. I love them both for different reasons. They're just, they're great, both great games. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, we've got less than a minute to go, so I better wind it up. Thank you so much, Mike, for giving up your time. It's been awesome to chat with you, getting to know you. Say hi to Maya for me, because I haven't seen her for a couple of years, but tell her to keep training. I know what it's like juggling kids and training, all about that. But
more power to you. It's awesome.
Thank you. Beautiful story. Thank you once again for giving up your time, and we'll see you on the mats.
Yeah, Steve, look forward to it. Thanks so much, guys.
Take care. See ya. Bye.
See ya.